Do you remember the smell of sizzling hot dogs on a summer evening? The soft hum of cars pulling into neon-lit parking spots, the sound of roller skates gliding across warm pavement, and a frosted glass mug sliding into your hand filled with sweet, creamy root beer? If you do, you probably remember Suds. And if you don't, well, you're about to discover the story of the drive-in empire that almost became America's biggest fast food chain, then vanished almost overnight. This is the story of Suds. How two music teachers built a nationwide phenomenon, how corporate greed and bad timing tore it apart, and why a handful of loyal fans are still keeping the dream alive today. It all began in the summer of 1953 in Champaign, Illinois. Two high school teachers, James Griggs and Don Hamaker, were looking for something to keep them busy during the school break. Griggs directed the orchestra. Hamaker led the choir. They weren't businessmen. They weren't chefs. But they were curious, ambitious, and like everyone else in post-war America, they loved a good hot dog. The two men borrowed a few $1,000s, rented a small lot, and built a drive-in stand with a bold design. A butterfly-winged roof drawn by a University of Illinois architecture student. He scrawled Suds on the sketches. Dog for hot dogs, Suds for root beer. The name stuck instantly. They hoped to make $100 a day. They made triple that on the first afternoon. Customers lined up in cars around the block. Root beer foamed over glass mugs. Hot dogs flew off the grill. The teachers realized they'd struck gold. Within a week, a woman asked if she could open a Suds of her own. Without hesitation, they said yes, and just like that, the franchise was born before they even had a company logo. Word spread fast. By 1955, Suds locations dotted central Illinois, each with the same red and yellow glow and the same irresistible promise. Coney dogs, crispy onion rings, and the world's creamiest root beer. The founders quit teaching to run the business full-time. They weren't just selling food, they were selling an experience. Car hops, often local teenagers, skated from car to car, balancing trays of fries and mugs. Families sat under neon lights, the radio playing Elvis or Buddy Holly. It was America in its purest form, simple, optimistic, and fast. By 1960, Suds had its own headquarters in Champaign and an ambitious training school called Rover College. New franchisees came from across the country to learn how to make the perfect root beer float and run a spotless drive-in. Within a decade, the chain grew to more than 600 locations in 38 states and Canada. At its height, Suds was opening 15 new stores every month. It wasn't just a regional favorite anymore. It was a national symbol of the American drive-in dream. In 1969, Barron's magazine even called Suds one of the most promising fast food investments in the country. The momentum felt unstoppable. But every rise brings shadows, and Suds was about to hit some. During its glory years, Suds stood for more than food. It was a pioneer in branding. Each location shared the same modernist roof, the same logo of a smiling dog holding a mug of foam, and the same music-filled atmosphere that made families feel welcome. They published a monthly newsletter called Rover Magazine to keep operators connected. They launched a custom line of uniforms, branded paper goods, and radio jingles. They even engineered their own root beer formula and brewing equipment, so every franchise could serve the same creamy Suds no matter where you went. By the late 1960s, Suds was right there alongside McDonald's, Burger King, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Different food, same explosive growth. It was a golden age for fast food. But for Suds, it was also a ticking clock. In 1969, after 16 years of success, James Griggs decided to cash out. Their lawyer and business partner followed. That left Don Hamaker as the last original founder standing. He wanted to take the company public, bring in investors, and go big. But then the infamous Minnie Pearl Chicken financial scandal rocked the entire restaurant industry. Investors fled, IPOs were frozen, and Hamaker's plan collapsed overnight. To keep things afloat, he sold Suds to American Licensing Corporation, which soon moved corporate headquarters from Champaign to the Chicago suburbs. The expansion continued. but the soul of the company was already slipping away. By 1974, the chain was absorbed by Frosty Enterprises, the makers of Frosty root beer. On paper, it sounded perfect, two iconic beverage brands joining forces. In reality, it was a disaster. The new owners at Frosty believed they could cut costs by centralizing everything. They eliminated the field service teams who had supported local franchises. They laid off managers who understood how to run a drive-in. Most unforgivably, they replaced Suds' beloved root beer formula with their own. The taste changed, the texture changed, and loyal customers noticed instantly. Franchise owners rebelled. Some switched back to the old formula in secret. Others dropped the brand entirely, scraping the Suds logo off their signs and running as independents. The unity that had built the chain collapsed in just a few years. Meanwhile, America was changing. People didn't want to park and wait for car hops anymore. They wanted drive-thrus, not drive-ins. Chains like McDonald's and Wendy's adapted quickly. Suds didn't. By the end of the 1970s, hundreds of stores were gone. The neon lights dimmed, and the once mighty drive-in king was quietly fading into history. Throughout the 1980s, Frosty lost interest in the restaurant business altogether. They focused on bottling root beer for grocery stores and let the drive-in chain rot. By the 1990s, fewer than 20 Suds restaurants remained. Yet in Indiana, one couple refused to let it die. Don and Carol Van Dam, longtime franchise operators, bought the rights to the brand in 1991. They wanted to protect what was left of the name, revive the original recipe, and bring the spirit of the 1950s back to life. They succeeded, at least partly. Under their care, Suds began selling bottled root beer again, using the world's creamiest root beer formula. They formed a new company to license the brand to surviving drive-ins, ensuring that the few remaining locations stayed authentic. It wasn't a comeback story filled with headlines, but it was a resurrection built on love and nostalgia. Even today, around a dozen Suds restaurants still operate, mostly across the Midwest. Each one serves the same frosty mugs and Coney dogs that started it all. Drive past one of those surviving locations, and it feels like stepping into a time capsule. The neon dog still wags its tail. The car hops still bring your tray to the window. The root beer still tastes like childhood. Online, collectors trade vintage Suds signs, mugs, and menu boards. Fans post memories under the hashtag DriveInLife, keeping the nostalgia alive. The brand even has a small cult following among retro car clubs and Route 66 travelers. Suds may have lost the war for expansion, but it won the war for memory. Its story resonates because it captures a moment when America itself was simpler, a time before microwaves, before digital menus, when fast food meant family, not franchises. So what exactly went wrong? The answer isn't just one thing. It's a chain reaction of small mistakes. Suds expanded too fast for its size. It changed ownership too often. It lost touch with the drive-in magic that made it special. And when consumer habits shifted, it couldn't adapt quickly enough. But its rise and fall carry a bigger lesson, one that modern brands should pay attention to. Success isn't about who comes first. It's about who keeps evolving. Suds innovated more than almost anyone in its time, but it stopped innovating right when the world was changing. That hesitation cost them everything. Still, its influence lives everywhere. Every frosty mug of root beer, every car hop-style diner, every retro revival show owes a little something to Suds. They may have been outpaced, but they defined the era that made fast food iconic. Picture it. The glow of neon on chrome bumpers, laughter echoing from open car windows, the hum of a jukebox somewhere behind the counter. That was Suds. It wasn't about convenience. It was about connection. Families sharing fries, teenagers on first dates, and a slice of Americana that can't be recreated by a drive-thru speaker. Even though most of those buildings are gone, the story still matters because it reminds us of what business used to feel like. Personal, local, full of heart. Suds didn't just serve food, it served memories. And in an age of digital everything, maybe that's exactly what people miss most. Today, if you're lucky enough to find one of the remaining Dog-in Suds locations, order the same thing that built an empire. A Coney dog, a basket of onion rings, and a cold mug of root beer with foam that climbs right over the rim. Take one sip, and you'll understand why people still talk about it. The flavor hasn't changed. The feeling hasn't either. Dog-in Suds may have faded from sight, but it never really disappeared. It lives in old signs, in stories told by people who remember their first drive-in night, and in every bottle of root beer still carrying that smiling dog. So next time you see an old, half-forgotten drive-in on the side of the road, maybe look twice. You might be staring at a piece of American history, the last trace of a brand that once had 600 restaurants, millions of fans, and a dream that refused to die. Dog-in Suds wasn't just another fast food chain. It was the soundtrack of a generation. And like every great song, its echo never really fades.